So the first question, we want to find the greatest common factor of 33 and 44. So we realize that 33 can be written as 3 multiplied by 11. Okay. In the same way, 44 can be written as 4 multiplied by 11. So here, when we hear the greatest common factor, we want the biggest number that divides both 33 and 44, which in this case is 11. The second question, we want to divide 7 over 8 divided by 9 over 5. So as you are solving, remember, dividing by a fraction means multiplying by its reciprocal. So we can write this as 7 over 8 multiplied by 5 over 9. So I take the reciprocal of 9 over 5, which is 5 over 9. Okay. And you know, fractions, numerator multiply numerator. So 7 multiplied by 5 is 35. And 8 multiplied by 9 is 72. And there is no common factor between 35 and 72, so 35 over 72 is the answer. So the question is, we want x for which the function is undefined. Okay. So let us forget about the first one. So this question is, what value of x makes this expression undefined? So the key thing here is to realize that a fraction is undefined when the denominator is 0. The fraction is undefined when the denominator is 0. Why? Because division by 0 is not allowed. So we are going to set 5 plus x to be equal to 0. Okay, and this becomes easier to solve because here we know that x is equal to -5. Okay, so when x is -5 in this fraction is undefined. All right, so in this question, we want the distance on a number line. So you'll be given a number line, right? You'll be given a number line, and the idea is you need to know how to read a number line. This one is very clear because you know this is 1 and this is -5 half. So let's say you have a distance like that up to here. Okay, so we want the distance between -5 and 1 on the number line. So what is the distance between -5 and half and 1? Okay, so the key thing here is that distance means subtract and take absolute value. Subtract and take the absolute value. Remember, distance is always positive. So to find the distance between these two numbers, we're going to say -5 half minus 1. Okay, -5 half minus 1. And this is just what? This is just -6 half, right? But distance is positive. The absolute value of -6 half is 6.5. So the distance between -5 half and 1 is 6 half. All right, let's try 0.26 multiplied by 5.3. So remember, when you are multiplying decimal numbers, you just do the normal multiplication, forgetting about the decimal point. So I will go ahead and take 26 multiplied by 53. Okay, so you just do the normal multiplication, 26 multiplied by 53, which is going to give you 1378. Okay, now after you multiply, you just place the decimal. So remember, the decimal is on the first spot here, so this becomes 1.378. 1.378. So which one is undefined? The square root of 16, the square root of 5.9, the square root of 0, and the square root of -9. So if you're working in real numbers, right, you cannot take the square root of a negative number. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. So therefore, this here is undefined, okay? The square root of negative 9 is undefined. We find the square root of 50 divided by the square root of 2. You can observe that when you have a square root of a number divided by a square root of a number, it is just the same as everybody under the square root. Okay, so I put everybody under the square root, and then we can just divide, 50 divided by 2, which is 25, and this is just what? This is just 5. Okay, that is the first method. Then the next method, we can write 50 as 2 multiplied by 25. So this is the square root of 2 multiplied by 25, right? But if you write something under the square root, it's just the same as squaring each one of them, okay? So again here, I just skip a step here and write the square root of 2 multiplied by the square root of 25. Everybody divided by this guy, right? Square root of 2, okay? But the square root of 2 and the square root of 2 cancels, right? Square root of 2 and square root of 2 cancels. And this gives us what? The square root of 25, which is just 5. Okay? I give you y to be equal to 3ab plus 2b to the power 3. And I give you that a is equal to 1 and b is equal to, say, 2. Find y. Remember to like, share, and make sure you follow. Okay. So y here will be equal to, so you see, we've been told that a is 1 and b is 2. So we just plug in, right? Plug in. So I put 3. Oh, that math guy says 22. Let's see what happens. So I put 1. I put b as 2, then plus 2. Then I put, so remember the first 2 is this 2 that is here, and the b is 2, so to the power 3. Okay. Then we can go ahead and multiply 3 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 2 is 6. Then plus, here we have 2 multiplied by, so remember when you see 2 to the power 3, it means, here it means 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, right? Which is 8. So this is just 8. Okay. So here you can write this as 6 plus 2 multiplied by 8 is 16. And 16 plus 6 is just 22. Okay. So once again, this class is specifically for those preparing to write their GED and combined with Algebra 1 and exam prep for high school students. Okay, let us do a little bit of factorization. So this problem, the way you see it here in the actual GED problem, it is a multiple choice problem, right? It is a multiple choice problem, but you have to know how to, how to factorize before you do your choosing. So basically, when they say factor, it means you are looking for both terms, right? Both terms in here, they share 3x plus 2, right? The first term here, you can see that there is 3x plus 2, and the second term, there is 3x plus 2. So because that is what is common, you're going to factor it out. So let us write 3x plus 2, right? Now, when you factor out 3x plus 2, what remains in the first expression? What remains in the first expression? 4y, right? I just underlined it here. So this is 4y. Okay? Then here, observe the sign, right? This is minus. I will need minus and 2. Okay? I've already factored out 3x plus 2. So this should be your beautiful answer. So given that a is -4 and b is 3, what is the distance between a and b? Find the distance. By the distance formula is just a minus b, right? A minus b. So we can go ahead and write our a, which is -4, then minus b, which is 3. So this is just what? -4 minus 3 is -7. Okay? And the absolute value of -7 is 7 positive. Okay?